Look, just look at the way the guy talks. Honest, hardworking, and responsible. That's what you're going to get from this great guy as your next governor of the state of Wisconsin. That's what you want. I've worked with an awful lot of people in my career. There is no finer person than Tom Barrett at every level. And he's going to be a darn good governor. So you got to get the vote out in this county. The same thing for me. It's a tough county. But you know how it works. You know how it works.
Really?
If you affect a percentage or two, I don't expect you to carry the county. If you do, your car bill is going to go up even more. But, you know, just changing a percentage or two for Barrett and Feingold and the others can determine the election. It's a big county. So that's the way you should think about it. Instead of, you know, gee, there's a lot of Republicans. And they are cocky. They do think they've already won. They're already dancing in the end zone. And people can perceive that. So I, too, want you to work hard. I'm thrilled that Henry is here with Sanders, who is working hard all over the state to potentially become the nominee for Lieutenant Governor. I'm sorry I didn't hear the speech. I look forward to hearing it in the future, but I know you're a great candidate here. Where is Dawn? Is she still here? Dawn Recess, our state treasurer, who's done a superb job of really bringing that job to the people of the state. You need to help her and talk about getting her elected. And I want to thank Rich Mans for his leadership here. Very, very much. This is a good group. You know, in every one of my elections, people here in this county have been fantastic. They have worked really hard, and they have done the job in a place where a lot of people think, oh, we don't have anything going. The same thing happened in Sheboygan today. You know, Barrett and I were there, and my opponent was there. I haven't carried Sheboygan County the last 2 times. But we had 60 volunteers marching in the parade and cheering to my opponent's 10. That was pretty cool. And that's because people like you are doing this all over the state. I don't know if this is happening for Democrats in other states. I hope it is. But I know that you're making it happen here. When Tom talks about people being upset, of course they're upset. I agree with that. Particularly upset about the employment situation. Well, I am ready to put our position and our plans on jobs right next to any one of these Republicans and see who people trust. See who people think are going to do the job. Let me talk about my opponent, Mr. Johnson's vision for working families and retirees. First of all, he's against the minimum wage. He thinks it's a bad thing. He opposed the unemployment compensation that we finally got through. He said that's bad for people. Then they don't look for jobs. This guy's not in touch with reality, even in his own town of Oshkosh. He specifically has endorsed NAFTA and GATT and the China deal, which shipped so many of our jobs overseas. As Tom pointed out, I voted against all of them. You know what he called those trade deals? Last week he said, well, you got to understand, in capitalism that's known as creative destruction. That's how he's talking about your job. That's how he's talking about your lives. That's his plan for the working people of the state. And then, of course, it's obvious he'd wish there was no unions at all. He doesn't like unions. He doesn't like when people get together to kind of protect themselves in situations where management isn't doing too well. But he's got great tax policies, too, for working people. He doesn't just want to renew all the Bush tax cuts for the wealthy. He doesn't think it's enough. He wants larger tax cuts for the wealthy for people like him. And he complained about the unemployment compensation. Terrible. At the same time, he wants to repeal the tax cuts that we got in the health care bill. 80,000 Wisconsin small businesses are getting tax credits to help them pay for small business. He says the first thing he will do is take that away. He'll take that away. So it's quite a lovely vision for working families. And repealing the health bill, he'll take this away from you. You got a kid who's 23, 24 years old, about to be off your insurance. Under the health care bill, you're covered till you're 26 years old. That helps working families. He'd take that away. If you happen to be somebody from working family, somebody that has a pre-existing condition of any kind, and you're not alone, because over 1 million people in the state have pre-existing conditions. For the first time, these people are protected against the acts of the insurance companies. He would immediately take that away. So what's left? Well, maybe you make it to retirement after he's taken everything away. You know what he wants to do there? He wants to adopt this plan to cut Medicare benefits in half. And then have you folks go out and figure out how to pay for one of those private plans like Medicare Advantage and see how that goes. He wants to gut Medicare for the future. And if you like your Social Security, he says, oh, I don't want to do anything to harm Social Security for those that are now on it and those that are about to be on it. But, quote, for everybody else, everything's on the table. You know what that means. He's for privatization. He wants you to have to take your accounts to Wall Street, and, gee, that'd be a great deal after everything that's happened. What a vision. What a terrible vision. This is a town of working people. This is one of the great towns of working people in the history of this state. Want a senator who has that kind of vision?
No.
That's right. So let me talk about our vision. Let me talk about our vision for jobs. Well, first of all, as Tom well outlined, I voted against the policies that put us in this place in the first place, not just the trade agreements. I voted against that bailout for Wall Street that did nothing for Main Street but put us in the bottom of the pile. And I voted against the Bush tax cuts, which created huge deficits. So that's how we got here. That's what happened before Barack Obama became president. My opponent and the other Republicans want to pretend that history began on January 20th, 2009. You know, it's like, the modern era. Everything else before doesn't count. Of course that's what they want to say. But of course it's dead wrong. 75% of the debt was already there because of the Bush policies, because when Bill Clinton left office, Tom and I worked hard to make sure there was zero deficit when Bill Clinton left office. So that's the deal he was left with. So what did he do? He didn't just stand around. He said, I know the only show in town right now, unfortunately, is the government has to do something to stimulate the economy. The private sector was not able to do it at that point, and everybody knew it. So we had to take a tough step. We had to pass the Recovery Act, the stimulus bill. And it was the right thing to do. And it has had a lot to do with making sure things didn't get worse and put things in the right direction. My opponent says, Mr. Johnson says, it has done absolutely nothing. Now, there's a word for that statement. I try to avoid saying, but sometimes I slip. It's completely untrue. The bill included a tax cut for 95% of all working families in this country, and I believe the figure is 99% Wisconsin. This was the cut in the withholding, through the withholding. He always ignores that. That was a third of it. Now, the next chunk of it is something he thinks is bad. He thinks it's bad that we tried to make sure the state and local governments didn't collapse and made sure the public employees could keep their jobs in some cases. Well, I don't think that was a bad thing. Most people lost their jobs. It would have been even worse for the economy. They wouldn't have had any money to buy things, but it's more than that. This is your firefighters. These are your police officers. These are your teachers. I personally am glad if my house is burning down if there's a firefighter. I'm glad there's a police station two blocks from my house, a new one in Middleton, in case something happened. And you know what he refers to this as? He says that I have been on the public dole for 28 years. The public dole. Does that mean firefighters are on the public dole? Does that mean military men and women are on the public dole? The notion of denigrating and mocking the work of public employees all over the state and country is a really nasty, inappropriate way to talk about hardworking people. And I reject it. But again, even if that were all true, and somehow you conceded that those things weren't good, he claims that it didn't do any private jobs. That's not true. Now look, I drive around all over the state like Barrett here. You can't get anywhere. Why is that? Because there's road construction. 7 times more road construction in this nation than last year, largely because of the stimulus bill. Those are jobs. Those are private jobs. Those aren't IRS agents out there digging the holes and pouring the concrete. That is the reality. Second, tens of thousands more weatherization projects on homes this year than last year. Water projects, far more than last year. All over the place in this country, and especially in this state, private jobs are coming from this. Plymouth, Wisconsin, they've been waiting for a senior center for 20 years. Couldn't get the financing together. Finally, the piece from the stimulus package made it happen. And again, it's not DNR employees doing the work over there. It's their local contractors, your local heating and cooling guys. That is who is doing the work. And it also has to do with a vision for the future. This next governor, and I mean it, when we say we care about the young people. You know how our friends on the right like to say, well, we're doing this for the children and grandchildren, even though they're truly just trying to get big tax cuts for themselves now. But we actually care about this. And we believe having this state develop economically and through its infrastructure is an important thing for the future. So Tom Barrett and I, unlike his opponents, believe that it's wonderful that the Recovery Act, the stimulus package, has designated $880 million for the high-speed rail line between Madison and Milwaukee. That's a huge the proposal goes, if we don't get our fair share of federal dollars, the two guys running against him would cancel it.
Yeah.
The guy running against me would cancel it. It's 13,000 jobs just for the train line itself. And it's not just about those jobs, and there's many associated jobs with it. It's about the future for our kids. It's not just Madison to Milwaukee. It's Chicago through Kenosha and Racine to Milwaukee, Milwaukee to Madison, then Madison up to Minneapolis. Don't ask me to choose between La Crosse and Eau Claire right now. Governor, when you become the governor, Mayor, we'll talk. We'll talk. And it doesn't stop there. It also, of course, will go through to Green Bay. And so what we are creating here is an exciting, environmentally friendly, jobs-friendly idea. The stimulus package did nothing. That's one of the best grants in the entire United States of America, and I am very, very proud of it, and you need to get the word out on that. Now, I don't want to stop there because I want to just mention that there's a further vision here. There is more to be done on the private sector side to stimulate the economy. That's true. We already started. A few months ago, in the middle of the health care debate, nobody wanted to report on it because people weren't screaming at each other. We passed something called the HIRE Act. Now, the HIRE Act is a bill that allows any employer who hires anybody who's been laid off more than 60 days to be exempt from the payroll tax between now and the end of the year. It's working. We believe that something like $8 billion worth of tax credits will be awarded to employers because of hiring people. Talked to a guy from Lake Geneva yesterday. He hired 2 people in part because of the HIRE Act. That's good. That is the right step. But I want to even take it another step. Between now and the end of next year, I want there to be a further tax credit, a payroll tax credit, 15% tax credit for any employer, large or small, who hires anybody new or raises the wages or the hours of any current employee.
Great job.
That's a great proposal. We've gotten wonderful responses from everybody, from the Manitowoc company to somebody that owns their own laundry with 2 employees.
So great for them.
This is what we want to do. This is what we're engaged in doing. People might say, well, why didn't you do that in January of 2009? Because it wouldn't have done any good. Who would have hired anybody right now? I mean, the economy was dead stop. We had to stimulate it. We did the right thing. But now we are using tax credits and tax incentives to further it. So you see the difference. One person has a vision of just taking things away from working people on the assumption that somehow they don't really want to work. That's what he thinks. We have a serious plan for the recovery of this country. We are already implementing the plan. We are going to put more bricks on this thing. We're going to build it. And that is exactly what the people of this country want. They want responsible leadership. The President said it well in his address 2 weeks ago, radio address. He said those who constantly criticize everything that's going on with the recovery are playing politics with the recovery of this country. That's what they're doing. They're playing politics with the suffering of working people all over the state of Wisconsin and all over the country. That's not us. We want to solve this job problem. We want to make a future for our kids. We want to move forward. And that's what we're going to do. All right. Why don't shut up? We won't get started with the real issue here. Come on in, folks. And that is getting you guys out here doing the chores. And I want to thank you for